Hello, everyone, and welcome to my very first podcast. Our first guest, Diandra. She has been my hairdresser ever since I moved to Houston 10 years ago. Thank you for joining me. I would love to hear a brief history of you getting into hairdressing or pivoting into real estate. So I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. I started hair in high school. They still do offer programs in majority of high schools, but at the time I was where my son is your senior, you're figuring out what you want to do with yourself. I was already in a college cosmetology course in high school. And so with this program, if you completed a certain amount of hours, you could get licensed. Essentially, I was able to complete it and graduate with both beauty license, cosmetology license, the state of Texas, and also my diploma. I just opted for working through the summer. That summer job took me to the next step and getting hired on as a stylist at a salon and gained a lot of experience. And it just snowballed. And before you know it, within 5 years, I had a pretty loyal clientele. So I got an opportunity at a salon that was opening up, and it went, you're taking steps in your career and you're learning and you're taking classes, and probably 10-year mark, I decided to go solo or independent because I had already had cultivated the clientele that I had at that time. All liked me, would follow me. We'd built that rapport. I think when anybody has a hairdresser they're comfortable with, you'll follow them wherever. At least that's what my clients have let me know. And so I'm very grateful on the other side of things that they've been able to follow. I've been able to enjoy what I do and for whom I do it for. Yeah, that was when I opened my own or went independent. It was in 2012. And here we are 12 years later. It's been a joy. It's been really great. I feel old when I say that because I'm licensed in 2002. That's all right. So 22 years. And yeah, so I've definitely at some point in my career went back about 5 or 6 years ago to get my Class A barber license. So I guess you could say I'm a dual licensee holder. And yeah, it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, quite a few of us, right, have followed you. I feel like a groupie, right? And something I wanted to mention was when I first started going to see you, you were one particular salon suite, right? And then you moved to a beautiful suite, right, overlooking Town Lake, and then back to the other suite. And it just shows like your flexibility and the ebbs and flows of being a business owner.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So then it was just a few years ago you went and studied to get your real estate license. So how did that all come about?
I guess you could say 5 to 6 years into the career, maybe closer to 8, I noticed that I had a little niche and I had a skill set, at least with hair. I was doing really well, truth be told. And some changes in my life, I ended up cutting my realtor's hair. Like I met him cutting his hair, and he was like, if you're ever interested in looking at houses, and I was like, I don't know if I could even afford one. And before you know it, the ball got rolling, and we had that rapport, so I was comfortable working with him. He had let me cut his hair, so showed me a couple houses and really took the time and the effort to explain the process, told me stories of different clients that he'd had, and just I could like his passion for his job, and I really enjoyed that. And he mentioned, he was like, later down the line, if you ever decide to do real estate, I feel like you're so personable or relatable or just down to earth, like you should consider it. And I'm like, I do have a big clientele, but I think, I'm good. I really love hair. And he's like, there'll maybe come a time where you're maybe be open to that. And I'm like, I don't know. And so it always sat with me. He's like, you just would always compliment that I'm relatable and down, like I said, down to earth. And so I kept that in the back of my head, and we stayed friends. I still always did his hair. And then time went on and we lost touch. But after I did purchase a house, let me go back to that. I did purchase a house with him, became his client, purchased another house with him a few years later, and he helped sell and helped me purchase that next one. And then we lost touch. And then I had a not so wonderful experience with a realtor. And I would say that I missed him. I was like, man, there's certain people that'll make you feel a certain way. People will forget what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. And that's just in general. So I remembered how he made me feel. And I said, maybe one day. And then fast forward to COVID happens and the world slows down. And when you're in the motion of something, I don't know that you really can reflect on why you got into it. Are you still passionate about it? Reset. And when I was able to sit there and realize in that time frame, I was really able to reflect on if I'm working, I'm behind the chair almost, and while I've been here, created this rapport, had all these people really support my business, I want to get to know them beyond just the chair. But not only that, I want to be able to spend time with my family. I want to be able to purchase a house, go on vacations and do those same things. And maybe this isn't my forever home. I wasn't sure. And I said, you know what? If that urge is still there, I'm going to take those classes and I'm going to complete it. And I did. And it took a while because I had to stop it and then start back again. The classes were really intense. I'm not going to portray that they were easy. But I definitely, when I set my mind on something, I'm going to do it. I was elated to pass. And then I think that too starts a snowball effect of I really want to get in here, but I also know that it takes time to learn and to grow and to get comfortable and to gain the confidence. And so I really have enjoyed a challenge. I do not enjoy when things come easy. And of course, I would love them to, but that's just anything that's really been great in my life has come with a little bit of a challenge. So I enjoyed that learning aspect and diving into something and just, that's what brings me here. And so it's exciting to share it with somebody and to other people to notice that and not be scared to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And when I first met you, you had your first son. And now you have three. Something that really touched me was that part of the reason why you transitioned into real estate is because you wanted to spend more time with your sons. My eyes would pop out of my head like every time we would talk. I would be in your chair and you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm working like 6, 7, 8 days a week." Like, this girl's a hustler. But anyway, it's refreshing to see you have this opportunity to be able to slow down a little bit yourself.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's a lot of, I have a great calendar and it's a lot of scheduling appointments and making sure I can keep track of everybody.
Which leads me to this question. Do you have any advice for those who want to become an entrepreneur? We were just talking about how corporate America is quite unstable right now. Literally no job is guaranteed. Folks want to maybe do the 9 to 5 and quote side hustle.
Right.
What sort of advice do you have for these folks?
First off, pivoting out of a corporate job, and I'm only speaking from the trade side of things. I relate to people. I enjoy experiences, and I definitely enjoy hearing out people, getting to know people. And with that, I've been able to facilitate, right, 2 businesses. But corporate America, while I've never worked in it, I have a general idea of how it is. And I knew pretty early on, I don't know that I was cut out for that. So that's one good thing to know. And so we're seeing like a little downfall that people aren't getting hired for specific reasons, or there is a slowdown in the hiring rate of that. And there is so many people coming out of school and graduating with degrees and things like that. They're still waiting and taking intern jobs or whatnot, and just to be able to get into the position that they want. And while all that's going on, and if you decide to pivot out of corporate America, or you're deciding you want to start a business, or you have a trade that you want to develop, I know it's cheesy, but it's really about just going for it, taking a leap of faith. The step is there. It is really truly taking a leap of faith. It's just saying, you know what, I'm going to go all in. And even if it's a bust, there's something to have learned out of that. At least for me, I wouldn't say that real estate's a trade more than it still is a commission-based job. Obviously, if I don't have clients, I don't have an income, right? But the reality is I've got to figure out what's still like feeding myself, like what makes me feel good so I can transfer that on to another person, especially with hair. If I'm touching you and I'm having a not so great day or just not so great week, touching you, transferring that energy, I just feel like it's really important, like the headspace I'm in, to be able to take on the job and take it serious. And I feel a lot of times it is your mindset, right? So sometimes our mindset can propel us forward and give us that motivation, but other times our mindset can hold us back. and create. And wherever there's a space for doubt, I feel like a lot of times doubt wins a lot of times. So at least for me, it has, like, I'll become slow and I'll go, well, where's everybody at? And I'm not in y'all's household, so I don't know, but hope that I answered that.
Yeah.
Just keep going. That's my recommendation. Keep going, do it, do the thing.
Yeah, it's so easy to just overthink, and a lot of the trends out there that I'm seeing right now is like self rejecting.
Yes. And comparing yourself to somebody else, and social media can get out of hand with that. Comparing yourself to, like, how good of a mom you are, how good of a provider you are. Am I working out? Am I eating right? Am I sleeping enough? And age, I feel like the older I've gotten, the more apparent those things are. It's like the louder that is. And then it's like, also, am I doing any self-care? Am I relaxing? Am I breathing enough? Am I meditating enough? Like, there's a bunch of things that go on. And so it's really just keeping track of everything and just not getting overwhelmed, right? So
yeah, getting enough exercise, that has been huge for me. I have to get out on the tennis court and work out. Some other topics we wanted to discuss. I feel like you're a great resource for first-time home buyers, right? And first-time sellers. We were just talking about how spring has sprung. What sort of advice do you have for these folks? It's a pretty intimidating landscape.
And I almost feel like once you've done it one time, you're way more experienced. You know what to expect. For a first-time home buyer, while it's the biggest step. Marriage and getting a house, that's like the first. I feel like they go together. Like, that's what you want to do at certain steps, and it takes a lot of energy to build up to even buying a first house. You're talking about one house, and you have to choose that in a certain period of time, and then you have to choose a realtor that's going to help you, and how do you know what to ask them, and how do you know? I feel like not every realtor, just like not every hairdresser, fits everybody. I think that there's a lot that goes into it, but if I had to sit down with a person that was buying a home for the first time, I would probably be 100% transparent as to what they can expect. And a lot of that is just, don't go purchasing a house. Hey, today I want to buy a house. And in a month, you've already sitting down at a closing table. Now, if that's just the stars align and that's what happens, great. I suggest, before you're even thinking about purchasing a house, maybe 6 months before that, sit down with a few realtors, interview them, see who sits right with your soul. Because remember, you're going to build a rapport, and y'all are going to be out there hitting the pavement and really showing up to homes and getting information and collecting data, and they'll be educating you on the process. You want to have a great communication, a great rapport with that person. You want to make sure that their communication's on point before you're getting into a point of under contract, they call it.
Yeah.
But I definitely think you need someone to handhold you a little bit, and it's not a bad thing. There's just a lot of agents that are ready, like, for people to have already been experienced in that, so they don't have to hold hand. I think I like to fall anywhere where my clients need me, so whether it be the first time or the fifth time. I like that I've already purchased a house too, so I know the process of it from, like, the consumer side. So I tend to enjoy that experience too, because I can read their faces on, like, what they're nervous about, maybe questions I can ask, and maybe you're not being nosy, but I'll be nosy. I want to ask. I want to know. But yeah, working on your credit and making sure you have stable income. There's certain qualifications the lenders need. So your realtor is one guy, but the lender is the bigger guy. And you got to make sure you have at least 2 years proof income. And yeah, your credit score matters, because it's going to directly affect your interest rate. So there are multiple factors, but just having that information up front, getting with the right, kind of lining yourself with the right parties to educate you on that process. I don't feel like it's as scary, but again, it's finding the right people to advocate for you and give you that information.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what if you're somebody who's had a great job for a couple of years, but now there's like this gap or this quote break with your income? How do lenders look at that?
I know that there has to be something in income coming in at some point, right?
Sure.
I think that it's normal to have a layoff. That's not the first time a lender has dealt with it, but there's got to be some sort of income coming in that there's a promising light at the end of the tunnel. They can't just go and see a large break in your income and then go, oh yes, we would love to. They got to make sure that they're going to have a repayment back. And so that it is important to make sure that you do have at some point like a career lined up that you're going to be able to supplement that payment essentially. So it does matter, but I will say this for real estate. Again, lenders and what the lenders do and what the realtors do are definitely different. And there's definitely things that I've spoken on that I ended up fact checking with my lender friends later. And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I overstepped what you may have watch this podcast and go, nah, we could do this and this, right? I would definitely sit down and ask those questions to a lender. It doesn't cost any money. Ask those questions before that even happened. If we know that we're going to have 3 or 4 months off, just if life happens, you at least spoke with, had a conversation, had a one-on-one Zoom call, 10 minutes, ask questions. It's harder when you're in the position of needing to move and that's actually what's going on then. Right. So we don't want to ask the questions when it's too late. I don't know. There's a multitude of like things that I could probably give you as an example, but I'm a question asker before the thing goes bad. Like before that thing happens that I'm going to work myself up, because I'll get anxious if you look at me wrong. Before that happens, I like to be prepared. What if this goes bad? What can I do to prevent this? And what would I need to show you?
Sure. And to me, that's great. You have a realtor, right? That's like an advocate for you.
But I know that it's Houston, right? There's millions and millions of people who live here, and on a daily basis, people are either, like you mentioned, transferring out from one industry to another, or deciding, I don't know that I want to retire doing this. And I think we're all thinking of ways to chase our happiness. And I know that it's, again, just so cheesy to say, but whatever you enjoy doing, it won't feel like work. And I know that there's works that we have to do because that's what puts food on the table at the end of the day. But then I've been really lucky that hair took me by surprise. I loved it. I love the connection. I love what it's done for me. I've enjoyed every day of it. There's been days, sure, it wasn't as great, but very rare. And I was able to do that for many years before I got into real estate. And while I was like, how could you love two things at one time? I really enjoy being able to do both. And at some point, maybe right now they're overlapping, but at some point, maybe I'll just be full-time real estate. And obviously, I'd hope that's closer than 10 years from now, but I'm just glad to be here and be able to balance it all. And hopefully my clients see that it's seamless. And I wish that for you. I wish that same future and happiness. And I wish that I'm podcasting you. I'm interviewing you. I'm like, tell me about your success.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I feel it. Something's coming pretty soon. Yeah. Yeah. Everything happens for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking these past few months, I was so anxious about the unknown.
Oh, yeah.
But again, working in corporate or working as an entrepreneur, nothing's guaranteed.
It's nothing.
We're the same age, and we grew up thinking that, oh, if we just go to school and go to college, but no.
And then you get there, and then you get there, and then you go. There is a lot more to it. It isn't just getting married and you have babies and you live happily ever after. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think at that time, I think it was more common to see like a one income family. Now being involved in real estate, and I am seeing that this isn't a general rule across the board, but this is a 2-income lifestyle. This is a 2-income type of life now. And,
it is,
I won't say that. I guess you can look at that in two different ways, right? I know me, I would get bored if I stayed at home all the time. I definitely need to be able to socialize and be around people and feel inspired and create new scenery for myself. But then I definitely think that when you aren't maybe traveling or just being inspired, I've seen myself get into a rut where I'm like, I'm just going to stay put for right now, content with being content. I'm not really going to go anywhere. And so I don't know. I think it has a lot, again, it goes back to your mindset, right? And there's days where I have to tell myself, like, chill out, don't do anything today.
Yeah. That was me earlier today. I was like, I cannot drag these dead bones.
Give yourself some grace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Almost every day when my husband comes home from work, like I do not sit down on the couch and watch TV. This
Right.
place doesn't clean itself and organize
That's
itself.
right. That's a whole other thing, keeping a household and making sure that the groceries that you purchased this week, that we actually ate them or used them or whatnot, or if they're expired, throw them out. To keep a household is a whole job on its own, but
Yeah.
to do work and to keep the family going and to keep bills paid and just it really does has to work like a well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
right? With no snags. But that takes time to get that going, I think, and a lot of communication, a lot of partnership, and a lot of even the village, right? It's the village that supports that. I can bring two areas, right? So hair, there's definitely been times where I've done the same haircuts, I've done the same people, I see the same faces, and I'm in a routine with that. And in hair, they have these hair shows. They have hair classes, hair sessions you can take with people who have been doing it for many years. They teach courses, they let you buy product, and there's these shows. And so there's music, there's lights, it's cameras and action, and everybody's beautiful. Their hair is amazing. Their makeup, they're dressed in all these fancy clothes, sparkly this and that. And when we as hairdressers, I don't want to say like we're burnt out, but you definitely get, I don't want to say uninspired, but you need to be around those people, and we need to be around like creatives, like-minded people. And when we're there, and it's an all-day course. It's like a 10 to 5, and you could stop at different places and take some notes, take some pictures. You leave there with this burst of like energy. You're like, yes, do it again. It's like a kind of like a TED talk or something, or some really like motivational meeting, if you will, of creative minds, just all feeding from the same thing and just really going back and applying that art or that motivation to our clients. So they have that in the hair industry, and in the real estate industry, I notice they do that too. You can take some sessions with top producers. They'll teach classes on the mud districts, the HOAs, new laws coming out. There's open houses, there's meetings, there's going to a model home and letting somebody tell you about why this particular brand of homes versus this builder, what you can expect with this builder, what this builder offers for incentives. And just there's a lot of things that you can do that are free, that or sometimes free, or sometimes you can be invited to, that will really just create that recharge, that reset, that, and grab that and let that take you like a wave in the ocean. Ride that wave. And I've done that a lot of times because I wasn't able to create the extra money to take those courses. Sometimes these classes can be $300 to $500. Sometimes I didn't have half of that. But even if it was YouTube, the genius of YouTube, there's so many motivational TED Talks. There's podcasts like this that would inspire people to go, I didn't hear it like that, but that day it resonated with me. And so even if you just take time to yourself to really hone in on your craft, or people who are doing it better than you, there's a note you can take from that. There is some inspiration you can grab from that. You don't have to do exactly like that person, but I'm getting amped up just talking about it, because I've definitely watched girls. So I'm like, man, maybe I'm really good professionally, but she's a really great mother. Like, she's so patient, the way she talks to her child, the way she's engaging with him. In areas of my life where that fits, that's what I will do. There's homemakers that I'm like, look at the way they're cooking and making everything from scratch. And so I can't say that I have that energy every day or anything like that. I definitely will not pretend, but I definitely will follow those niches and get inspired. And I feel like that's one way we can groom ourselves into that person we're trying to become. I feel like you should always be evolving.
Yeah. Wow. It's been so good chatting with you. Is there anything else you would like to cover?
No. Anybody who tunes into your podcast, number one, they'll be blessed to get any information from all your guests that will be on here. I can't wait to tune in myself, and I'd love to keep track of your growth and your successes and things like that. And also, obviously, to plug myself and say that while I'm not open to taking tons of the public in my hair industry, I am open and willing to have a conversation, educate people on real estate. If they don't have a realtor, even if they just need a kind of questions to ask a realtor while they're interviewing a few of them, what you should be looking for, I would love to just be considered.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I really enjoyed chatting with you a couple of months ago about this whole process. Yeah, we're ready to we're ready to jump and be first time home buyers, but everything happens for a reason. I think
Yeah.
that there's something really important about appreciating what you have. Well, thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for your time. I am so glad to have you, my first guest.